Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg, from local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it.
We will have done 27 different neighborhood town hall meetings.
If I hadn't gone into the hotel business, I probably would have went into the nursery business.
Yeah, it's been an amazing morning, going around looking at all the animals and
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
It is exciting getting ready for the big 4th of July parade here in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas. This has become burning with the rebound.
Welcome to the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce.
Please on time here, 3,500. So they go to your dad.
And we had that promise to get in John's gospel.
We love living in the country.
When I think about
Husband.
Along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing down.
Hey there, well, welcome, Billy fans. This is
on September 25th, 1925.
John
when she sank
Crawford Fritch.
So, okay. Sean, talk to you about the CMA. Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here at Coffee with the City Manager. We have quite the program update for you this morning. I think you're really going to enjoy this. For those of you that haven't been here before, we've changed up the format just a little bit to make this more interactive with not just me standing up here talking. We'll have a number of different staff giving updates today. So a lot of exciting stuff going on with the city of Fredericksburg. I wanted to mention we're going to kick off talking about our budget. Our finance director, Krista Wareham, is going to give a budget and finance update. So this time of the year, that's pretty much all we do is develop the budget. We work around the clock to try to get that adopted by mid-September. We start about May 1st on that process every year. So it's something that we're very proud of every year. We're really trying to cut costs. You'll hear a lot more about that from Krista coming up. I'm going to give you an update on the University Center coming up. We'll recap some of the items that were on the last council agenda, that a few of them that will be on the Tuesday council agenda. We'll talk about projects going on around town, some projects that are ongoing that you've probably seen, may have questions about. And then we'll talk about this type of event that we've been doing very successfully around the community, community outreach, something that the organization is very proud of. Very proud that we've always filled the room with folks during this event. So just right quick, recognize a few council members that are here. We have Bobby Watson right up front. Now we have Tony Klein in the back. And we have former council member Sharon Joseph with us this morning. Did I miss anyone? We also have a number of city staff here that you'll hear from. So I'll start off and hand it off to Krista Wareham, our finance director. Krista?
Clinton said, thanks for being here. I'm normally not able to come to many of these meetings, so I'm happy to be here and beautiful day, and we're going to have a fun discussion about the budget. So I don't have too many slides. I wanted to start out and talk about what we do, how our budget season looks, just to kind of give you a picture of it. I know some of you out here probably have done your own budgeting, maybe worked for a company that you had to do the budget. Everybody's budget cycles are different. Obviously, our fiscal year, we start October 1st and end on September 30th. So that was something different for me coming to a city from a private organization. So basically, when we start our cycle, it's usually in the spring, and we have a conversation with council and decide what strategies, what directives they're looking for, what changes they might want to see from the previous year. And obviously, we're looking to reduce costs as much as we can and make sure that we're still maintaining our service levels and look at rate studies. And so this was our budget strategies and directives for this year. Just gonna scoot back because I don't have my back to anybody.
You can't get away from the sun, I don't think.
I should have brought my sunglasses. So obviously what I mentioned, maintain service levels, look for growth opportunities, diversification of revenues. That was a big one for us this year because property tax only accounts for about 25% of our general fund revenue. And so as we're hiring more police, fire, EMS, to maintain being able to hire people, being able to stay competitive with our rates that we have, our hourly wages, we're going to have to find other sources of general fund revenue. So we've had lots of meetings. I think we have a spreadsheet of over 40 ideas that came from staff, and we are working on some of those today. So obviously looking at short-term and long-term staffing needs, and then the directives, specifically, we work in a software program called Fbg.Live. This is our third year that we're going into Fbg.Live, and it actually is a tool that helps us do our budgeting. The department heads are able to go in to their worksheet and plug in all of their requests, and then we have meetings. We go through a meeting with every department and go through their worksheet to find out what their revenues look like and what their expenses look like. So we looked at workforce cost, we looked up new personnel requests, which we had 15 new personnel requests for this year's budget. And then we also look at our capital assets and equipment, what departments are looking, their needs for capital improvement, not just this year, but the next 5 years. And then we have line itemization. So what that's about is in the worksheet that we have, if they're going to go up on their expense, even if it's only 5%, they need to itemize and tell finance and management what those increases are for. So I think that about covers it as far as the schedule and what we look at going into it. Like I said, is in the spring. We usually have our staff meetings in June. And then in July, we start actually building the budget and then get a proposed budget together. That's usually before the tax rate comes out, because the tax rates don't come out until late July. And then we get to about where we are now, where mid-August, we need to file our proposed budget with the city secretary's office. And then we will meet with council on August 20th to get some direction on where they think they're going to set the tax rate. And if it's going to be higher than the no new revenue, then we'll have to issue a public notice in the newspaper to make everyone aware of that, and then we'll have a public hearing, which would be on September 12th. And then on September 17th, it's a day that you'll see me smiling, will be when the budget is adopted and the tax rate's adopted, and then I can move and start thinking about audit. So that's what my schedule looks like right now. And like Clinton said, we are, eating, breathing, sleeping budget. There's not too many times that I'm not waking up in the middle of the night and thinking about numbers right now. And I think Clinton is doing the same. So I know this is an eye chart for most of you back there in the back, but basically what it looks like is our revenues going into this budget year, our revenues are flat. And what that means is we're not showing any increase for property tax right now. We're not showing any adjustments to our sales tax, which sales tax is $9 million of our general fund budget. So that's about 40%. I mentioned sales tax is 25%, property tax is 25%, but sales tax is 40%. Try to get that out. So our revenues are flat right now, and we're looking at if we need to lower our sales tax, because I don't know if any of you have noticed, but sometimes it seems like the restaurants aren't as busy in town and there's not as many visitors. We hear things from other cities nearby that their sales tax numbers, they're being conservative and they're going to be lowering their revenues. So we're also considering that, and we'll be making a decision fairly soon. Personnel, we put a 2.5% merit increase across the board for staff. Could you go back one, please? And then, so personnel showing a 3% increase. And really everything else is pretty flat. Capital is actually going down, but that's because we had a lot of projects going on in 2024 that are going to be completed, so they won't carry into 2025. And then our debt requirement is up 9%. That's just basically what debt requirement is when we have capital needs that are going to need to be financed, where we don't have enough cash to just pay for, like say a $2 million ladder truck. We will finance that, and then that's where the principal and interest payments go, is in that debt requirement. So overall, our expenses, though, are down 5%, which is good, and I know departments worked hard to reach that number. You can go to the next slide, please. So just a little bit of a deep dive into some of those categories. Personnel is our largest expense for the city, as usually it is in most businesses. So we've got about 25.6 million, which is 191 full-time employees. We have some vacancies in the budget. And we also have, like I mentioned, the new employee requests. We had 15, and we were looking to maybe add about half of those. Maintenance and operations is right underneath personnel, is the number 2 in our expenses at almost 23 million. And there were some cost savings when we asked departments to try to cut their maintenance and operations by 3%. About, I think, 16 departments were able to meet that goal, which did help keep our maintenance and operations pretty much flat year over year. Next slide. And then looking at capital and debt, these are just some items that are going to be included in the budget, and it's still a work in progress. So these were our initial offerings for the budget, but we're making changes now, and the proposed budget will be out by Friday. So there may be some changes if you're looking at the proposed budget online versus what we're talking about today. Not too many changes because we're trying to keep everything as steady as we can. But general fund, we have police equipment. We always have police vehicles in the budget every year. We currently have a renovation to the council chambers. If you go to the council meetings over at the LEC, we're looking at doing some changes there. We're not really sure if that's going to stay on the final list or not. Parks projects, sidewalks, street equipment, fire department equipment. And I mentioned we have the $2 million ladder truck. So we've got that set up under 8-year financing. And so that $250,000 is the first principal payment that would be made in 2025. Also for EMS, they've asked for heart monitors and also a, where did that just go? Heart monitors and an ambulance. So, and then enterprise, electric department, sanitation, wastewater, all of these departments every year have capital requests. And most of that you will see in the capital number because it's usually items we can pay cash for. Enterprise, we do have lease purchasing for an electric bucket truck and a sanitation garbage truck. So those numbers you're seeing are the principal payment, not the entire amount of the equipment. And let's see, next slide. Okay, so that's all that I had prepared today for just a high-level overview of the budget process. Are there any questions? I was going to say there's got to be one. Sure.
Mary Williams. How did the budget contemplate the possible new city hall?
That would probably be a good question for Clinton.
I don't need that. So the University Center will be paid with debt, and it's a combination of certificates of obligation and debt issued in our enterprise funds, through our enterprise funds. Total construction cost of, or not construction cost, total purchase price of $10.5 million. So that will result in a small tax increase, property tax increase, and then we're doing a rate study to see how that impacts our enterprise fund rates like water, electric, sanitation, and so forth. So it's not that large of an impact. When I say not that large, any impact is a large impact to some, and we understand that. We'll get into some of those numbers just a little bit more the next council meeting if you're interested. We also had a discussion last council meeting regarding the first issuance of debt and what those impacts would be. We've discussed that actually at the last couple of council meetings, initially the first budget meeting that we had. Believe the debt on the property tax side is covered by about $0.015 on the tax rate.
Yes, that's correct.
And when you look at just servicing that side of the debt, that generates, $0.01 generates a little bit over $300,000. That impact, and I'm looking to Krista to help me out with the numbers, I don't have them memorized yet. The impact for the average home price of $450,000 in town is going to be about what per penny, Krista?
I think we were looking at, like last year's numbers, the average was about $750 a year. that the city would get from your taxes. This year, with the difference in the additional debt, it might bump it up by about $200. I believe that's the number.
Just right in that range.
So it's in the...
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And that's why your comment about you may or may not refurbish the current city hall because you'll be...
Right.
The
so
council chambers.
That is being issued to specifically cover the cost of that facility. It's reflected in the budget, but it's reflected as new revenue. We're talking about existing revenue not being able to cover the any kind of modifications that we have to do to the existing city hall. None of those are being included in the budget. And regarding that, I will say the new city hall will house the majority of the employees that are currently at the existing office at the existing city hall. Fire EMS has the need for 5 offices for their administrative staff that are located in other areas, moving those individuals into City Hall, and then also our police substation will move into City Hall. So that police presence on Main Street and in that core kind of downtown area, we hear that from a lot of folks. So that will also be a move. Utility billing will stay initially downstairs, and we'll eventually transition to a drive-through facility at the new location. But probably make that transition slowly because a lot of people like to pay their utility bill at City Hall. We'll also always have an overnight drop-off box at City Hall for utility bills. So all of that is part of the transition. But I can tell you that speaking of fire EMS, for instance, those guys are spread out, again, in office locations around town. It doesn't work real well. Having all of them together is a huge benefit. And then also having that greater police presence on Main Street, right there at City Hall, is something, again, we hear from a lot of folks and we'll achieve with this move.
Okay, Krista, you mentioned something about sales tax and people are complaining that businesses are down and things on Main Street. Is that correct?
Yes, we have heard from some of the restaurants and shops that their sales are flat.
Okay. I've been on Main Street going on 30 years, okay? January, August, and September are usually always down. It's the nature of the beast. People are getting ready to go back to school. They're coming in off vacations. I prepare for that every year. I tell my worker bees because they complain, Miss Essenson, I only made $100 yesterday, or blah, 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 blah. Well, what did you make during October, or what did you make? Did you save any of that? And of course, you know what the answer to that is no, ma'am, I didn't, because they live from paycheck to paycheck. So all I want to tell you is don't panic. We have a wonderful city. People do come here. The place is clean. People like the area, so they will return. So the people that are complaining, tell them to go back 3 years and check and see what months they're normally slow. But you mentioned something about lowering the sales tax. Is that correct?
Yes, we've, during COVID, our sales tax numbers went through the roof. So this year we expected them to possibly go down, but they're holding for 2024. But we're just uncertain if those numbers, $9 million, will hold another year.
Okay, and the sales tax you're talking about is the 8.25% on everything that's purchased?
We get 1.5%. 1.5% comes to the city.
We're not talking about reducing that rate. We're just saying there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy right now. We held a town hall meeting with Main Street merchants last month.
Yes, I was there.
And we heard from a lot of them, we heard too then, that the margins are very narrow right now and business has slowed down. Not necessarily because it's a slow month, because things are slowing down generally.
Well, we have an election year as well.
Exactly, and that's the uncertainty in the economy. A lot of it has to do with that. So what Krista is saying is we're probably going to project something a little bit less than flat for the FY25 budget. Somewhere between down 1 and 5% in that range probably. And again, that's just based on feedback that we're getting from.
Well, I know we're looking for some revenue, and I've asked before, and everybody says, Rosemary, you have to go to the state level for this. I spent a whole month in Fairhope, Alabama this past summer, a beautiful little city. I brought wonderful things back to share. The other thing they do over there is they have 9.25%. And I was told we couldn't raise our sales tax. It has to be through the state legislature, right?
Right.
Well, that's really too bad, because there's where we could get some money.
Right.
You know, because everybody that comes to town buys something. So,
So we're always, since we're talking about this, we're always looking for, we have a lot of ideas to get a little bit more from our 1.5 million visitors a year instead of just relying on our 11,000 residents.
That's correct.
Full-time residents.
I think that's a good idea.
So of the 43 ideas, I think it's 44 now that we have, that we're currently pursuing. A lot of them have to do with that. And I will tell you that Councilwoman Kirchner is working with our state representative, Ellen Troxclair, on a bill. The bill's being drafted right now for the 25 legislative session to use a percentage of hotel occupancy tax revenues for police, fire, and EMS, emergency services. So we're talking 15%. That's just shy of $1 million. A bracketed bill just based on the circumstances that we face every day, and that is larger departments than we need to serve just this community. We serve 1.5 million visitors, and as Krista just mentioned, it's a double-edged sword, right? We collect 40% of our general fund revenue is from sales tax, and a lot of that comes from our visitors. That's why our property tax is so low. It's 16.5 cents, just to give you an idea. The next closest neighboring city is Kerrville. I think they're 60 cents. When you look at their tax bill, the city portion of their tax bill for their average home is $1,600 a month. Ours is half of that, $800 a year. So we're always looking for ways to get more from our visitors. We're going to continue with that legislative effort. We're hopeful. We're meeting with the Hotel Lodging Association coming up in the next couple of months. We have a lot of exciting things kind of working in that vein right now. So we're hopeful. And all that means for y'all is tax relief and keeping those services where they are currently and just increasing those. So know that we're always going to be pursuing that first. Does that answer your? Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
I know the hot funds are good because of all the tourists that come in. Are the hot funds being collected on these small, tiny homes and RV parks? And are they paying something to come into the city since they use the services as well?
Good morning. Yes, HOT is collected on the short-term rentals. That's part of our process, is to make sure everyone with a permit is paying for HOT. We collect HOT in the ETJ. They don't require a permit in the ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, but they do pay HOT to the city. And RV parks do not pay HOT. That's a state issue, but they're not required to pay HOT.
So isn't a tiny home considered an RV?
So you're talking about an RV park that has both RV?
Right.
We have collected on a tiny home. If it's not coming in and going out, if it's stationary, right? So we do have a mix, some of those RV parks in town where they have mostly RV slots and a few tiny homes. We do collect HOT on the tiny homes. City. We only collect the city. I don't know if the county is going after their portion. We have, right, the ones that we have in the city.
You collect on?
The tiny home portion only, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? All right. Well, thank you all for coming and being so nice to me.
messenger always gets blamed for, any financial changes or wrongdoing. So I'll tell you that, again, it's a decision that staff makes in terms of what we propose to the council. And of course, the council works with us to adopt the final budget. And we're very careful with that. As you saw, the overall budget is decreasing 5%. We're very serious about getting after some of these cost savings and additional revenue generating ideas that don't impact all of you in this room. And we'll continue to do that. So keep an eye on that budget calendar if you're interested in any of those budget meetings or the budget in general. Reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Okay, just a couple of updates. Some of these are from the last council meeting. If I could have Anna come up for just a second and talk about our proposal for a feasibility study at this point for a tax increment reinvestment zone, primarily for Main Street, and just very high-level overview without, because we can really get into a lot of details.
Did you catch that? Very high level.
There's a lot of confusion over this. I will say this, and I will say this 3 different times. This is not any kind of tax increase for anyone that owns property on Main Street or within a tax increment reinvestment zone. As Anna will explain, it is simply setting that valuation at a base, and then as that property valuation goes up, taking a portion of the taxes that are collected off of that incremental increase and putting them into account to make improvements along that corridor on Main Street within that zone. So, very high level.
He covered it. It's very high level.
Yeah.
So imagine downtown, right? We've got our golden blocks that perform very well, sales tax and property tax revenue. And then off of Main Street, if we go west of Milam especially, or east of Elk, and think of the old peanut factory, right? There's some areas that are underperforming, we can say. There's empty buildings, empty lots that aren't activated. And so a TIRZ, tax increment reinvestment zone, it's not a tax increase, it's a tax increment. That would just have a pot of money, a special pot of money that would be set aside for that district. And then the city council retains control. It's still city council's money to spend. It's money that's set aside from the general fund that can be set up for specific projects. It could be big things if we wanted to do big, capital improvement projects, or small things such as thematic banners and benches and trash receptacles. We had the meeting with the downtown merchants, and one of the main things they want are more public restrooms and more trash cans. Well, a tax increment reinvestment zone can help pay for those things so that only the property owners in the area, their property taxes are going towards that and then being spent on that in that zone. So that way the general fund, right, that you guys are interested in are still being left aside for general citizens, right, for the regular population, so that we know specifically we're going to pay for this public restroom at this location, we're going to pay for these street banners, and they do a financing plan. And that's the next step, is for city council to do a feasibility study to see what would the exact boundaries be, what type of increment. They don't have to put the entire increment, they could just put 50% or 85%, totally up to council. So council's not giving up any control over the money or the projects. So it's a great tool to really kind of concentrate some physical public infrastructure. It's not for private, it's for public use. So really thinking about sidewalks, street furniture, anything that could enhance the area. So luckily I went on vacation and have not talked about TIRZ for 5 days, so I won't get into the weeds, but if you want to talk about it more, I'm happy to answer questions.
It's just setting up that funding account to reinvest back into that zone. Planners talk about banners and things like that. Engineers talk about sidewalks and curbs and street lighting and the things that aid in transportation and safety. All of those types of things can be included. I was driving down Main Street the other day. very early in the morning. And when there's no one there, you can see a lot of the curbs are broken. We obviously have a lot of sidewalk issues. We hear about that all the time, although we have invested a lot into new sidewalks and sidewalk repairs. There's still a lot to do, especially on Main Street. So this feasibility study that we're talking about would set the limits of the zone, identify all of the projects that we could do along that corridor, and then set an incremental or a percentage of that incremental tax rate that's diverted into this account to cover those costs. We've been talking about public restrooms a lot. There's not a lot on Main Street, minus market plots. That's something that we heard from the Main Street Merchant Group. We heard a lot about Main Street improvements from that group. And again, going back to that 40% sales tax versus 25% property tax, we have to maintain that balance. We have to maintain an attractive Main Street and downtown areas so those visitors will keep coming back and keep spending money. I said in that meeting that we have the greatest Main Street in the state of Texas. I believe that. I think it's the most attractive one. Now I want it to be the cleanest and most unique in the state of Texas. So we're going to work hard to that end. This is one of those ways that we might be able to achieve that. Any questions about I call it the tiers. And it's not because everybody's going to be crying after this. Yes, sir.
Since this is existing tax revenue that comes in that's simply being set aside, and since it's still under the control of the city council, and since you're not building something you can't already build, sidewalks, bathrooms, etc., is there some portion of state law that says you can't simply set up a separate budget line in your existing budget and you say we're going to put 5% of the increase, 25% of the increase in what the tax increment is?
You absolutely could. And that's exactly what we've been talking about. But the difficulty there is you're always going to have needs in the budget that outweigh these nice to have wants, like banners and street lighting and some things like that. So again, it's that set aside account. There is a board that makes a decision on projects that are presented to the council, which are approved as part of the budget every year. It's more of a forced way to make this happen. Again, the council may or may not decide to move forward with this, but I think that we at least owe the entire process a feasibility study so that everyone, including everyone in this room, everyone on Main Street, has a full understanding of exactly what it is we're talking about. And the other options, we've been talking about exactly what you just mentioned.
So if the folks on Main Street are these subject matter experts on what we need on Main Street, why do we need to bring in outside consultants for feasibility
we will be a lot of these. We will be a lot of the expert in terms of infrastructure improvements. But putting together a long-term 20-year plan to achieve all of those infrastructure and improvement goals within that zone, to determine whether it makes sense to do this, again, set the rate. It's very complex when you set that rate, when you're projecting, what those valuations are going to do, when you're looking at the city budget and what that tax rate will be to cover those costs. It gets very complex. So that's a little, it's a little bit beyond what we feel like we can accomplish well at the staff level.
Thank you.
You bet. Yes, sir.
Could we buy a little white paint to restripe the left turn lanes, the setbacks? They're almost invisible and they're important.
You bet. Did Chris hear that? If you have a location, if you could let us know. Yes, sir. We're going to give an update on the Main Street project coming up here pretty quick. Sure. Milam in Maine?
Coming off Milam, turn left. They cut it so tight.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Yes, ma'am.
So, for years, talking to some of the merchants downtown about their sidewalks, I was always under the impression that they were responsible for maintaining and fixing the sidewalks. Does this mean that the city is actually taking that on? Because you never see anything fixed down there.
So back in the day, me and this gentleman that's about to answer the question walked Main Street several times, and we identified 165 different sidewalk deficiencies, ADA issues, and I'm proud to say that we have addressed the majority of those. We used to get a lot of complaints. So we have invested a lot, $100,000 a year in sidewalks over the last 11 years. We have $150,000 plugged into the budget for this year. So we haven't addressed them all, but we're working very hard to accomplish that.
So just to add to that, the city and TxDOT have a municipal maintenance agreement, and that spells out different responsibilities. Primarily, TxDOT is focused on the pavement itself, and then anything behind the backup curb is typically the city's responsibility. So Main Street's a little different. Most buildings are right up to the right-of-way line, so yes, the city would be responsible for those areas. In some cases, the buildings are set back. So between the right-of-way line and the building would be the property owner's responsibility. So it's different all along Main Street. So again, like Clinton said, the city's aware of these issues. We do our best to address the major ones, but there are cracks, there are, broken pieces. So things like the TERS and other funding mechanisms will help us address those issues. Another thing we face is the popularity of Main Street. We can only get in there and do the work certain times of year. We don't want to be doing them, shutting down sidewalks during the prime season. Honestly, we try to get it done between mid to late January and spring break. In our experience, that's the best time of year to get it done.
While I have you up here, Anna, can you give an update on development at the corner of 87 South and Friendship? I know that's something we might have a few questions about. All of the activity going on next to McLean Ford and some of the other development that will be happening right there.
Sure. So 87 South and Friendship Lane, the Chick-fil-A has been approved, and you've seen a lot of activity there. They got approval for 3 lots for Chick-fil-A. We expect Ace Biederman to be at the back, actually closest to the car dealership. And then we've seen drawings for a Discount Tire and an oil change place as well there at the corner. And then Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union got approval for the north side, the treed lot. They'll be retaining a lot of those trees, but there will be a new bank drive-through on the north side of that corner. And that's what's been approved so far.
So right next to the car wash right there. Mm-hmm. So a lot going on right there at that intersection.
And Chick-fil-A sales tax. Woohoo.
Thank you. Okay, could I have Andrea come up and give a quick parks update, please? Thank you.
Is this on? Good morning, Andrea Schmidt, Parks Department. Just wanted to give you a few updates on what's going on in the Parks and Rec Department. First, we have a new Glockenspiel that was recently approved, the conceptual plan by City Council. Glockenspiel is a clock tower that'll have 2 to 4 foot little figurines that'll come out a couple of times a day, and it'll also have a lot of bells. All the specifics have not been determined yet. At this point, just the conceptual plan is approved. So the Pedernales Creative Arts Alliance is the one that's spearheading the project, and they're going to be doing fundraising over the next couple of years. So just watch for more to come on that. It will be located on the northeast side of Market Square. Another thing we have going on is it's into summer. We've had a successful summer at the swimming pools. We did have a lot more lifeguards this summer than we have had in previous years. At this point, Park Pool is closed for the summer, but Town Pool remains open on weekends only, and the splash pad will also remain open through September 29th. One of the issues we have, even though we had a lot of lifeguards, is they're still all students. So as soon as school starts, we lose all the kids back to school. So we struggle in August staying open. I will say we are the only swimming pool in the Hill Country that still has some hours right now, a public swimming pool. Just a couple other quick things that weren't on the agenda. The maypole at Market Square is also being repainted right now. That's a donation project, again, by the PCAA. They initially installed it in 1991, and it's been over 10 years since it's been repainted. So we're working on that. Hope to have it finished by the end of September. We also got another donation from the Nimitz Rotary Club, who also got a lot of community support. They replaced the cross at Cross Mountain, and they had some leftover funds from the community, so they're putting them towards a new entrance at Cross Mountain Park. So those renovations are starting right now, and we hope to have those done by the end of October. And then finally, as you drove in, you probably noticed there was a lot of construction and work going on over at the Touch House and the Pioneer Pavilion. The city crews are taking the Touch House and the Pioneer off of septic systems and putting them on the city wastewater system, so that'll be less maintenance. And then the Pioneer Pavilion is getting a new roof and some rock work on the front. So we hope to have those projects also done by the end of September. So real busy right here at the end of the year. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Chief 4 Hour, can I have you come up, please? So when Chief 4 Hour came on board as police chief back in 2022, we sat down and talked about his goals, and one of the things that we both had on our list was community outreach efforts. He's gone well beyond the goals that we both set, I think, for the police department. In that regard, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about at the tail end of this meeting is some exciting things coming up as a result of our community outreach, and then also just letting you know about what we've done in the past couple of years and what's coming up. So, Chief.
Thank you, Clinton. So a couple weeks ago at a staff meeting, Clinton gave all department heads the opportunity to present something at the first council meeting of the month. And I think Andrea and Parks had some updates, which she just gave. And I was like, well, let's highlight some community outreach events, that the police department does, along with city and all the departments you'll see participate in some of these events throughout the year. So I wanted to highlight the good stuff. The stats at the second council meeting of the month, during the city manager's update has, the police department calls, how many calls for service we had, how many arrests, how many traffic stops, and all that stuff. So that's the stat part, but I wanted to get out the other major part that the police department pushes for, and that's our community outreach. So we'll just start. This is New Year's Eve at the city's ball drop. This year, our community outreach liaison came up with a new and great idea that we were going to do cookie decorating, and that's the ideas you get from somebody that's not a police officer, right? We have we have a community outreach liaison, Alyssa Rivera, and she's been at these meetings before, and you've seen her. So she has these great ideas, and that we fully support. So we did cookie decorating, and we had kids and parents decorate over 350 cookies just that evening alone at the city's New Year's Eve ball drop. Go ahead, Sean. So, and then we've had 2 coffees with the cop so far this year. Our next one's coming up later this month. That'll be on the last slide, but it's very casual. Coffee with the cop, it's come and go. There's no agenda. You come in, have conversation, ask questions. Myself, lieutenants, sergeants, patrol officers are all there, and we're just open for anything you want to talk about or any questions you have. Get some coffee, bite to eat, just very casual, laid back. Go ahead. Leadership Gillespie County. This is obviously a program that the police department and all the city departments participate in. This year in Leadership Gillespie County, we set up a little active shooter event for the participants, and here's a few pictures from that. So you can tell sometimes they were scared, and sometimes they were, having a lot of fun with it. And Citizens Police Academy. Each year the police department tries to hold a Citizens Police Academy. It's a program where citizens can apply to go through this Citizens Police Academy, and they get weeks of a deep dive into the police department, what each division does in the police department. They get a tour of some of the buildings, including the jail, which if you've never seen the inside of the jail, this is the way to see it. So, not the other way. So, and they get a tour of communications dispatch, places that the general public just don't have access to. But deep dive into the police department and what we're all about, and you get to meet a lot of the officers and staff through this program as well. Touch a Truck. Again, another city event that the police department and all the departments participate in. And it's just an opportunity for us to get out there and meet the kids, meet the public, parents. We set up a police car that you're able to get in and out of, and check out all the equipment that we have. And we always have little giveaways for, the kids and the parents. Old German Bakery held a fundraiser for us for the Police Foundation Fund earlier this year. And just that one day there in March, they donated 10% of their sales, which generated over $1,000 for the Police Foundation Fund. So we appreciate that. The Citizens University, this is a city program that all departments, including the police department, participate in. And you have Lieutenant Braxton Raymer on the left and Lieutenant Derek Seeley giving a presentation to the Citizens Police Academy. Drug Take Back. We do Drug Take Back every year. This year we did it with, co-sponsored by the hospital. But this is a program that we have done for many years. It's a way for people to turn in, unused, unwanted prescription drugs instead of disposing them, in the sewer system or in the trash. This is a safe way to dispose of all of those types of pills and narcotics and drugs. So we do this. It's pretty much a drive-through that we set up at the Law Enforcement Center. And this year, on that one day, we took back 310 pounds of unwanted pills and prescriptions. So that's a lot. When you're talking about, a pill doesn't even weigh a gram, and then we get 310 pounds from the community. So really proud of that program as well. Systems Go, the rocket launch. This is Ernie DeBella, our evidence technician on the left, and then Lieutenant Braxton Raymer in the middle. The police department is participated in the Systems Go, or the rocket program, through the high school for over 20 years, and so we're glad to be a part of that every year, helping them track and recover rockets when they shoot them. Third grade field trip. This was brand new again. Alyssa idea. We had the entire council show up. So this is a third grade field trip. There were over 220 kids that came to market plots, and they moved through different stations, and the kids were able to ask the council members questions, and then of course the police department had theirs, a little station off to the side there. So another great idea by Alyssa. And then field day. We encourage all of our officers, when the schools have field day, whether they're public or private schools, to get involved with the kids. And here's a couple pictures from that. I think we have a race going on, and and just some other activities. So allowing the officers to get out there and be involved in those type of programs is exactly what I'm looking for. CarFest is in June. We're invited every year to participate. We set up a car, a little booth. We talk to the public that come through there, have great conversations. And this year we were awarded the First Responder Car Award, so we actually won a prize in this one. And the Summer Youth Program. Summer Youth Program for the police department has been going on for many years. It takes place in June and July throughout the summer. It costs nothing. We take kids, for 8 weeks out of the summer, every Tuesday afternoon, for 4 or 5 hours, and we do different events. We do, a pool party. We take them to Jellystone. We took them to an adventure park this year. We have Emergency Responder Day, which Fire and EMS also participates in. Outdoor Day, where they do fishing and archery. So it's another great way to get involved with our youth, and they can see us, face-to-face, one-on-one. And then we also did some mini touch-a-trucks with Kindernest, and here's a couple pictures from that. And then also one at Bethany Preschool, which Fire, EMS, and other city departments also participated in. Grace Center Drive. We have officers that are passionate about certain things in the community. We have an officer on the Grace Center board as a liaison. We have an officer that's on the board of the 100 Club. And we have officers, throughout the community that are involved in different groups or nonprofits. So we have an officer that's passionate about the Grace Center, and he came up with this idea, presented it to Alyssa and I, and we said, yeah, let's do it. So for one morning and one afternoon, the police department set up a table in front of HEB and asked for donations. We started out with a list of groceries or personal hygiene items that as people went into HEB, they could buy them and then drop them off at a table on their way out. Well, we quickly learned that people were willing to give cash as well. So throughout 4 hours one morning and 4 hours one afternoon, the police department was able to raise $2,500 in cash, and then we filled up a van twice, two van loads full of groceries and personal hygiene items for the Grace Center. So first time we've ever tried this, huge success, and we'll probably do it every year. And then just throughout the year, as the officers, they see the kids out in the community doing a lemonade stand or a bake sale, encouraging them to stop. Of course, they love it as well, and the kids love it. So these pictures were taken, by the parents and get them sent to us. So again, just another way to continue to be involved. It doesn't have to be an organized event or planned event. As they're moving around the community through the neighborhoods, encouraging them to stop and get out. And just last week, we had Absolute Charm sponsor the Police Foundation Fund at a bingo night that was held at Yeehaw Ranch. And that one evening, we raised over $5,000 for the Police Foundation Fund. So much appreciate them, Absolute Charm and Yeehaw Ranch for hosting. The same night, we were busy, just happened to fall on the same night. We had the other half of the police department participating in a human trafficking awareness event that we also was co-sponsored by the individuals you see at the bottom of the screen there. The Hill Country Crisis, Sheriff's Department was involved, Grace Center, and some other organizations to bring awareness to this event. It's something that was requested through these organizations, and something that we were able to put on for the community. Upcoming events. I mentioned the Coffee with a Cop. We have the next one coming up on August 22nd, and it's at the pharmacy, the Cottle Pharmacy on Main Street, 7:30 and 9:30, so come out and see us. That's all I got.
Okay, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Join me in giving Chief and the the police department a huge hand. So this is a huge part of what they do.
I just kind of ended and said thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
How does our police department stand on protective vests for all of our, I read an article in a magazine the other day that concerned me, so I'm just, how many police officers do we have that do not wear do you have one on this morning?
Yes, ma'am, always. No, ma'am. So as far as protective vests or protective gear and equipment, we're very blessed here at the police department. We've been taken care of really well in that aspect. We not only have the everyday body armor that that every officer in this uniform is required to wear. So we call that our soft armor. And mine is underneath my shirt. Some of them you'll see they wear it over, kind of like a different polo shirt, so they can take it off and breathe, you know, when they're in the office, dry out a little bit. On top of that, their soft body armor, every officer on patrol also has an active shooter vest. And then all of our tactical response team members or SWAT members have the full-on heavy SWAT vests that you would see, you know, on TV or the news or in movies. They have that. Yep. Yep, absolutely. So we're very blessed in being well equipped in the body armor area.
Just checking on your calendar of events, does that stay pretty updated on the website? Like, I know about 3 of these things that you just talked about.
Yes, so on the police department website, Alyssa updates these events as they come along, and she'll post them, and then she also maintains our Facebook page, which is the most current and most accurate. You'll see updates on the Facebook page, you know, several times a week. Yes, sir.
Chief, one of the first debriefs of the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania was about the disconnect in technology on communication devices. Are we completely integrated with the Sheriff's Department, EMS, fire in terms of your communication capability?
Yes, sir, we are. Police, fire, EMS, Sheriff's Office, DPS, game wardens, constables. Am I missing anybody, Chief? We are all integrated, and we are all on the same channel, primary channel. We have several primary channels, and then we have the capability to flip over to a fire and EMS channel. They can flip over to police, and to expand that a little bit, we have capabilities to talk over the radio with Bernie, Kendall County, Carville, Kerr County, and most of our surrounding counties we can patch through to. But yes, we are completely integrated on communications. Any other questions? Thank you.
He deserves 2 rounds of applause again, too. Thank you, Chief. Sean, would you like to give a quick update?
Yeah, this kind of pairs well with what Chief was saying. Our website's going under a redesign, so if you haven't been there yet, Fbg.Live has great calendars, and we're working in this redesign to integrate that police calendar with our city events and meetings calendar as well. So internal team working on that now. Obviously we have a third party that handles our website, and expect a projected launch in February of 2025. So stay tuned for that. One thing that's not on here, and we've mentioned this a couple times, if you have something for this meeting that you want talked about, please let myself or Clinton know. We're always looking for new information to bring to you guys.
Thank you for that, Sean. All right, Public Works update. Again, you've seen a few projects going on around town. Chris is going to fill you in and answer any questions you might have. Chris?
All right, good morning. So the 3 projects that I've listed here, obviously we can answer any questions that you have on any projects, but these are the 3 priority or ongoing projects currently. The City of Fredericksburg street paving project, we're about 50% complete. We had some delays with some weather this year, but we also had an equipment breakdown that delayed us there for a little while. So we're ongoing again. We're doing some level up. We're working with TxDOT on those 100 blocks, the side streets there to the mill and overlay project, which I'll go into more detail on because there is some restriping that's going to be done as part of that project. But this is an ongoing project. It's a year-long project with doing level up and then coming back and putting the chip seal, the single course down on those selected streets. If you've heard us talk before about this project, we try to get about 10% of the streets paved annually in the city of Fredericksburg. It's all done in-house with in-house crews, equipment, and labor. We just purchased the material as part of that project. As far as the Main Street paving project, so you see TxDOT and their contractor Clark Construction currently working. It's all night work. Just a reminder, the extent of that project is from the Y all the way down to Crystal Drive, which is down by the UPS store. About 2 weeks ago, they went in and did some of the restriping. Not all of the restriping was done because it does require some signal modifications. Those signal modifications to the traffic lights, particularly at Highway Street, Gaiman Lane, Olive Street, Washington, and then even at Adams Street. The TxDOT is currently working with their contractor to do a change order to get those signal modifications complete so that they can do the restriping as proposed in the plans. But what you see going on right now is, and again, it's all night work starting at 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., is the full depth repairs, so the base failure repairs. So they're basically going in and milling out 6 to 8 inches of material and coming back and repairing that in preparation of the mill and overlay, which would take about 2 inches of the hot mix asphalt off and replace that with a new surface. That mill and overlay, they're taking off the 2 inches of asphalt and replacing that with new hot mix asphalt will be curb to curb through that whole extent of the project. And that will include the restriping. As mentioned earlier, some of that touch-up striping that we know is faded as well, not only on TxDOT's streets, but the city will follow that with a project with our streets to do some of that restriping because of the fading that's taken place. We were talking about that yesterday. I think it was about 4 years ago when we did some of that striping, so it's certainly needed. Be happy to answer any questions about those two before we move on to the other project. Any questions about paving right now? All right, we've got I know nobody likes hot weather, but this is great weather for paving, so. The next project, the South Llano Shared Use Bridge. So about a month ago, I think it was July 17th, J3, the contractor for that project, went in and did the install. This is a time-lapse video that Sean took of them setting the bridge. So it came in 2 pieces. It was transported in 2 pieces. They assembled those 2 pieces. We're on the Creek Street side looking back towards Old Fair Park or towards HEB. But they assembled those 2 pieces, and then they had this massive crane that they lifted lifted the bridge into place. The bridge deck has been poured. The approaches have been poured, and a lot of the sidewalk has been poured. Substantial completion for this project is in October. So they're still working on lighting. They're still working on basically finishing everything associated with the project. City crews will get in and do a little bit of work on some of the trees that are around there, some hackberries and some overgrown trees that need to be removed as part of the project. And then we'll have a scheduled ribbon cutting and official opening of the bridge. So more to come on that. But if you weren't there, it was really neat to see that bridge being put in place.
Any guess on the weight of the bridge? 120,000 pounds. And those guys are standing under it.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chris.
I have a question for Public Works.
There you go.
Yes, ma'am.
When will the project at the lift station that affects Bob White Trail, when will that be started?
Yes, ma'am. We haven't had our pre-construction meeting. We have the bid bond, payment bond from the contractor. I would say probably first part of September, next couple weeks. We'll have the pre-construction, then we'll work with that contractor on an exact schedule. It's a 90-day project.
Okay.
It shouldn't affect really any of the operations of the water or sewer, just the sewer project, but it shouldn't affect anything the way they schedule. There's some improvements to the lift station itself, but most of it's just rerouting of the gravity flow and force main lines.
Okay, how is that new project that is anticipated, 52 lots, going into that field with it? Is that going to affect that?
No.
Or is that considered for that?
Yes,
or-
ma'am. We looked at the overall area when we designed that project, and obviously we'll be able to incorporate those 50 additional lots with no problem.
Okay, and the grass in there, and over next to the new middle school, on the other side of Friendship, it's getting high, it's getting dry,
Sure.
and I don't know who is supposed to be cutting that, but it's over 2 feet
Okay.
at this point, and over in the field that's just beyond towards 16,
Okay.
next to the middle school,
Sure.
there's a big pile of dead trees, which we all know is kindling.
Okay. I'd be happy to visit with you maybe after this to get the exact locations and discuss what the city's responsibility is towards something like that on private property.
Okay, well,
Yes,
that's what our question was. Has it been transferred yet? And Clinton will get with you as to possibly seeing the plat for those 52 lots, because, I mean, we're 100 feet.
Sure. So I know
From
that
that fence.
went to planning and zoning, I believe, last Wednesday. So the preliminary plat did. We can certainly get that to you if you don't have it already.
Yeah, I do not. We would like to see that, to see how the exit out of there is going to impact our little neighborhood.
Sure.
You know, because we're already, of course, from the 1846 apartments and the middle school, which will open next year, there's going to be huge traffic that we want to know to be able to deal with. Because our neighborhood's pretty small.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
getting out, there's already been so much development down Homing Lane.
Sure.
To where we've got commercial trucks, a lot of different things coming up and down that road very fast.
Understand.
And so if, we just want to be able to anticipate being more careful. We're mostly an elderly neighborhood, and driving in that kind of traffic is a real concern for us.
Certainly.
But we want to be prepared.
Understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Has anyone seen an improvement or have any issues with the new striping on Main Street? As we had talked about, the elimination of that central kind of no man's land median and widening that outside lane, that has happened in most places where it was pretty critical. In front of the German bakery is one that's very evident. Some areas have actually narrowed the outside lane, but they were already very wide. I can tell you the right turn lane from Main Street onto 87 South for large trucks is problematic. That is one of the items that will change. I see Chris shaking his head yes. Is there anything else that you've seen on the not so good side, or has it been an improvement overall? Improvement? I'm going to take that as a yes then. Yeah. Okay, so again, TxDOT project, curb to curb, brand new paving. The other item that is significant with that project, Chris mentioned it, there will be a center turn lane now, essentially from the bridge going east all the way out of town. Not all the way out of town, but all the way past Crystal Drive. So that's going to be a huge addition right there. It'll really make a difference in traffic. Okay, a couple of more items here I want to close with. So community outreach. You heard from the police department. You're here today. A lot of you are back here today. And by the way, we're very flattered that you take time out of your day to come listen to us and get these updates. This is something that we worked very hard at starting back in 2022. And the The couple that just spoke, I believe y'all came to one of our town hall meetings at the South Station over a year ago. Am I correct? Do you have a question about an alarm on a lift station? Or, yep, okay. I'm not checking my notes, I promise. But community outreach, that's an example right there of something that we heard. We did 25 town hall meetings last year, individual neighborhoods. We had the entire city council with us a number of times, sitting in lawn chairs and driveways. And it was more of a small neighborhood community project that we did to listen to the community. We got out, we heard a lot of the same things from these different neighborhoods, but we heard some things very specific to neighborhoods. Dr. Hammerson and his wife hosted one of the very first town halls that we had. We were able to address some of the issues in that neighborhood, four-way at an intersection. We've been able to really listen, understand, take care of some things short-term, and we're taking care of some things long-term. We work real hard at this too. I give an update to council every month, and the purpose of that update isn't necessarily for the council or staff. It's for all of you in this room and for those that may be watching or want to get on our website and get the latest update on development, the city finances, what is sales tax doing that month, what are the public works projects and parks projects that are happening, what is the police department doing, how many calls did fire EMS go on. You can get that update every single month as part of our community outreach effort. You saw the police department, I mean, a huge effort. We didn't do this for any other reason than to try to just keep the community updated and to field questions from you to try to serve you better. So there is every year a conference, the International City Manager Association, ICMA, does an annual conference somewhere in the United States typically. This year it's in Pittsburgh in September, and Fredericksburg, is one of the roughly 10 cities that has been asked to have a feature video put together for that conference with respect to community outreach. So worldwide, we're one of about 10 communities that they're reaching out to because they're real impressed with all of the things that city staff is doing in that regard. So we'll show that video to you sometime later this year. We're very flattered. We didn't try to get on their radar. But the theme of that particular conference is community outreach. And it happens at a time when, quite frankly, coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people don't trust the government. A lot of people don't trust the federal government. A lot of people don't trust the state government. You know, a lot of people don't trust city governments. We're very transparent. You can ask us any question. We'll be completely open with you. We're trying to earn back that trust of this community if we ever lost it. So they are highlighting all of our efforts. We're very proud. We're going to include a lot of different staff in that video. I wanted to also mention there will be some clips likely from these meetings that will be included in that video. So you all may be part of this in the end. For those of you that sit up front and ask questions, it'll be the tough questions and the pretty easy questions and the good comments and some of the bad comments. So we'll take all of those. So I just wanted to let you know that's coming up. And I think that concludes our presentation today. One more thing I wanted to mention, Food and Wine Fest. If you watched the council meeting last time under City Manager Update, the Chamber CEO, Jim McCullough, gave an update on the Food and Wine Fest preview week. Bobby, you want to add to this at all, or do you trust me? Okay. I'll try to get this right. So there was a preview week toward the end of July. There was an event going on every evening leading up to the main event, October 25th and 26th. this year. That preview week, along with early ticket sales, has generated over $100,000 in revenue before the event ever happens. So that was an event when the city was doing it that was barely breaking even, maybe making a little bit, maybe losing a little bit. So they have a very enthusiastic group that's moving forward with the Food and Wine Fest. Just to give you an idea, the ticket prices formerly were $25 a piece. There are various packages that you can get up to $595 for the full event. Most of those are sold out at this point. So we've had I don't know what percentage increase in ticket prices for the top tier tickets for that event, almost sold out. So again, that was mainly a locals event or events, that preview week leading up to the main event. And if you haven't attended that event, I encourage you to do so. It's a very good event, and again, we're expecting a lot of people from the community even more people from the community to start attending that event now. Did I get it? Okay. That concludes my presentation today. Yes, ma'am. You bet.
As always, I want to thank you for doing this, and the accountability and transparency is so wonderful. But we as the audience, I believe, made a big mistake, because I think many cities don't share all this budget information like you gave us today. And we let Krista make this great presentation, and we didn't give her a hand. So I want a hand for Krista and her budget presentation. Thank you.
Krista does a lot of work, and she's right. I woke up last night and sent myself 3 emails starting at 2 in the morning. I think 3 and one at 4:30, things that I just knew I couldn't remember when I woke up regarding the budget and other things. So it's just that time of the year. But Krista and her staff do a ton of work. They spend a lot of time. And again, we're very careful with every dollar that we have to utilize in the budget. So thank you, Krista, to you and your staff, and thank you, Sharon. Okay, at this point, I would like to go around, and if you have any questions, we will try to answer those. We have, again, a number of staff here. If we can't answer your question here, we're always available anytime at your convenience. So, yes, sir.
In regards to city sales tax, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
3 places. One, Navajo Grill, the old steakhouse on Main Street, and the theater and everything else. Is any movement, or who bought Navajo? I mean, is it going to be a restaurant again? I mean, to generate things again? So I know it's going to be like that.
You bet. Yeah, big project that's being proposed there.
Good news on the Navajo Grill front and the Azure Hills. The same owner bought the hotel and Navajo Grill and plan to redevelop both. Yes, so double good news. And what was the other one?
The old steakhouse?
Nothing on the old Chili's. Is that what you're? Yeah, nothing new on the, yeah.
And the theater, is that what?
The theater's out of the city limits. We've heard, so they're on septic and well, so we've not seen anything official, but I assume any redevelopment would consider annexing and getting city utilities, but it's, an owner would have to petition the city and ask the city, and obviously we would consider it if we were asked, but no one's formally done that yet. We've had some preliminary discussions, but to the chamber, yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Garrett, do you have anything to add? Councilman Watson? Thank you. Let's jump back over here, Sean, if you don't mind.
I would like to thank everybody for coming out today. It works well. The city council really appreciates the community coming out and asking questions and being involved like this. And I just personally want to thank everyone for showing up every coffee with the city manager and other events that we have. So thank y'all.
John McManus. I live in the city.
Yes, sir.
I see a for sale sign on a UPS building. Are they moving?
Don't have an answer to that. You have an answer? Okay, so it's for another business that is connected. Okay, thank you for that.
Brenda Cole in the city.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to just say how pleased I was with the Food and Wine Festival preview week. I love the new pricing schedule. Before you paid a fee to get in, but then you had to buy tickets and more tickets and more tickets. And this is a more comprehensive, higher fee, but it covers everything. So I think it's going to be much more an event that showcases our local wineries and our local food restaurants. So thank you for making that change.
Thank you for that. Rosemary, anything else? Thank you. Right here, Andrea. Do you have anything, sir? Okay.
I think this is a very enjoyable event. I haven't made enough of them, and if you're giving away free coffee, I should have been here more often. I think that there's a lot of really good things going on in the city right now, and a lot of people were in panic only about 2 months ago when all these restaurants started to close. If you will notice, almost all of those restaurants are going to be refilled. And that is a wonderful sign for the city. Yes, tourism is down from last year, but that's just a blip. When we look back for 3 years from now and you have projects going on like are going at Navajo Grill, you're going to have tourists coming into town from other states coming in just for a culinary experience. That'll help the wineries, that helps the retail, that helps everybody. So all the things you do to make the city look better helps everybody in the long run. And Police Chief, one thing for you, the officers back on Main Street, that's just a great touch. I had a lunch out at one of the restaurants on Main, and a couple of the officers came by, and it was the people sitting next to me that were from out of town that said, wow, that's a nice touch. And the officer stopped and talked to everybody, which was really a nice touch. So thanks for putting him back out in front of everybody again.
No more applause for the police chief. His head has already grown.
If you don't know by now, I'm Deb Youngblood. I'm with the Pertinalis River Alliance. And I just want to make sure that everybody here knows that on Monday night at 7 p.m., there will be a public meeting. And attending that meeting will be the developers of Archray and TCEQ, that is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And you can come and you can ask either of those entities any question you want, anything that's been bothering you about all the things that you've heard, you can ask questions directly of those people. So that is Monday night, August 19th, 7 p.m. at Rock Box Theater.
Thank you for that. I think we skipped one right here at this table. Ma'am, did you have anything? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. You don't have a question? Do you want?
Wendy has to say something.
Chris says I have to say something. Strictly a shameless plug. The rack card that you have on your table, you do not have to go to Broadway, to Las Vegas, to Hollywood to see some of the finest entertainment in this country. Opening on Thursday night through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friends of FTC, which is Fredericksburg Theater Company Cabaret. I've been to 3 rehearsals. I've got an article coming out in the paper today. These people are professionals and they're local. So please come on out and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Anything, Lauren?
Kate Walker in the city. I just want to say thank you also for these meetings. We're new residents. I guess I've said that for a year now, so maybe we're not so new. But coming to these meetings and attending the city council on occasion, that sort of thing, has really helped my husband and me assimilate into the community very quickly. I've never lived in another community that had something like this. And we just really have appreciated knowing what's going on in the city and being aware of the processes and people we could contact if we needed to. So just thank you, Clinton, and all your staff.
Well, thank you for that. Means a lot. Thank you. So I wanted to point out that Connie, she asked me to call her not Miss Krenwelge, is part of our Fredericksburg Citizen University group. Have you learned anything going through that?
Kind of interesting because I think they were supposed to last like an hour, hour and a half, and we get so involved. Sometimes I think the speakers would like for us to go home. But it has been really enlightening. I learn something new every time. And I highly suggest that when they start the next class in January, if you're able to do it, please attend. You'd be amazed at what's going on in our city. And even though we get a lot of information here, you get a lot more. I don't have a favorite because I've enjoyed every one of them.
Yes, ma'am.
But going to the fire station, learning how much the equipment cost was a real eye-opener. Going to the police department, having the city attorney and the city secretary, although we have a new city secretary now, had no idea the type of work they do for us. It has changed so much in the last 5-10 years what they're responsible for and their staff. So I think it's great. I haven't missed one yet, and I hope I don't have to miss any. It goes from January to December. So.
Thank you for that. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but look for that opportunity again coming up at the end of the year. The class will graduate in November of this year. And again, it's a way to take a deep dive into everything the city does, everything the city is involved in, department by department. Also, don't forget about the Citizens Police Academy. Another good opportunity if that is specifically, what you want to deep dive into. So huge opportunities through both of those. Thank you. Ms. Krenwelge. Bill, anything? Mr. Rohde. Okay, we can talk after. You bet. All the time you need. All right, no problem at all. Anything else from the group? Paige, anything from the cameraman, his assistant? How about a hand for Paige and his bunch? If you have not gone back and watched these videos, he's not an amateur by a long shot. This is truly a professional operation that he runs. The videos that he puts together, the videography that he does is absolutely first class. So take a look at that. Take a look at a lot of the things that he does around the community. I think you'll see it in a quite different light. So thank you, Paige, for taking the time to cover this event every month. Okay, anything else from the group? Thank you for being here and have a great rest of the week.
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg, from local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it.
We will have done 27 different neighborhood town hall meetings.
If I hadn't gone into the hotel business, I probably would have went into the nursery business.
Yeah, it's been an amazing morning going around looking at all the animals and
Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.